who has a why to live can bear almost anyhow. That's a line from Friedrich Nietzsche, a man who stared into the abyss of human existence and didn't blink. Have you ever felt it? That quiet, gnawing sense that you're not playing the same game as everyone else. You watch people chase promotions, followers, fleeting trends, and you feel nothing. Not superiority, but a deep, unshakable alienation. You're surrounded by noise, but all you can hear is the silence of your own unanswered questions. You try to join in, to laugh at the right times, to care about the things you're supposed to care about, but it feels like you're wearing a costume that's 2 sizes too small. This feeling isn't a flaw. It's not a sign that you are broken. It's a signal that a different part of you is waking up, the part that Nietzsche believed could save humanity from itself. He called it the Übermensch, the Overman. Not a tyrant, not a superhero, but an inner rebel. A person who stops accepting the values of the herd and dares to create their own. A person who finds their why so they can endure any how. Most people spend their lives running from this inner voice. They drown it out with distractions, numb it with comfort, and shame it with conformity. They choose to be part of the crowd, to be safe, to be liked. But in doing so, they sacrifice the one thing that makes life worth living, the potential to become who they truly are. This video is a journey into the heart of Nietzsche's most dangerous and liberating idea. It's a guide for the outsider, the overthinker, the soul that refuses to settle for a world of shallow answers. We will explore why conformity is a slow death, how to overcome the slave morality that keeps you small, and how to finally become the master of your own existence. This is the philosophy of the inner rebel. We live in a world that worships the herd. From the moment we are born, we are trained to conform. Don't stand out. Don't ask too many questions. Follow the rules. Like the post. Buy the product. Agree with the popular opinion. The pressure is immense, subtle, and constant. It's in our education system, which rewards obedience over critical thought. It's in our corporate culture, which values team players over disruptive innovators. It's in our social media feeds, where algorithms create echo chambers that punish dissent and reward sameness. Nietzsche saw this trend over a century ago, and it horrified him. He warned of the coming of what he called the last man. The last man is the ultimate conformist. His greatest ambition is not greatness, but comfort. His highest value is not truth, but safety. He takes no risks, feels no deep passions, and has no grand purpose. He simply exists, blinking in the sun, content in his mediocrity, believing he has found happiness when all he has found is the absence of pain. We have invented happiness, say the last men, and they blink. The last man is the death of the human spirit. He is the person who has given up the struggle, the beautiful, terrible struggle of becoming something more. He is the man who trades his potential for a pension, his soul for social approval. He is everywhere. He is the co-worker who gossips to fit in, the friend who changes his opinion based on who he's with, the person who spends hours scrolling through feeds, passively consuming a life instead of actively living one. The tragedy of the last man is that he doesn't even know he's a prisoner. He thinks his cage is a comfortable home. Nietzsche believed that society was actively creating these last men. It was sanding down the sharp edges of the human soul, making us smooth, predictable, and manageable. The goal, a stable, peaceful society. But the cost, our own greatness. The herd mentality rewards those who think less and obey more. It celebrates those who follow the path, not those who forge their own. It creates a world where being good often just means being agreeable, and being moral just means following the rules without ever asking who wrote them and why. This is the great slumber that Nietzsche wanted to wake us from. He saw that the comfort and safety we crave are the very things that are killing our potential. The inner rebel, the Übermensch, is the one who hears this alarm. He looks at the world of the last man, the world of comfortable conformity, and feels a profound sense of nausea. He cannot live like that. He would rather face chaos, suffering, and solitude than dissolve into the meaningless comfort of the herd. His journey begins with a powerful, terrifying no milieu. No, I will not follow blindly. No, I will not silence my questions. No, I will not trade my soul for your approval. To understand the inner rebel, we must first understand the prison he is trying to escape. Nietzsche called it slave morality. This isn't about literal slavery. It's about a psychological state, a mindset that has come to dominate the modern world. Slave morality, according to Nietzsche, is the value system created by the weak, the oppressed, the mediocre, to protect themselves from the strong. It's a brilliant, insidious trick the psyche plays to make weakness feel like a virtue. Think about the values that our society champions: humility, compassion, pity, equality, turning the other cheek. Nietzsche asks a dangerous question. Where did these values come from? He argues they weren't handed down from a divine source. They were invented by those who lack power. Unable to conquer their enemies in reality, they conquered them morally. They couldn't be strong, so they called strength evil. They couldn't dominate, so they called dominance sinful. They were forced to be humble, so they called humility good. Pity, Nietzsche argued, is not a virtue. It's a way of feeling superior to the suffering of others without actually doing anything to alleviate it. Equality is a noble idea, but it's often used to pull the exceptional down to the level of the average, rather than inspiring the average to rise. This morality praises the tame, the harmless, the good person. But what is this good person? It's someone who doesn't create conflict, who doesn't challenge the status quo, who puts the group's comfort above their own truth. It's a value system that creates sheep, not lions. It encourages you to suppress your ambition, your pride, your will to power, and to feel guilty for even having these instincts. It tells you that your sharp edges, your intensity, your desire for greatness are things to be ashamed of. So you learn to shrink. You learn to be humble. You apologize for taking up space. You become nice. The inner rebel, the Übermensch, recognizes slave morality for what it is, a cage with bars made of comforting words. He sees that this system doesn't aim to make you good. It aims to make you manageable. It's a psychological tranquilizer for the human spirit, and he refuses to take it. He understands that real virtue is not about following a pre-written set of rules designed by the timid. Real virtue is about creating your own values, based on strength, honesty, and a radical commitment to your own highest potential. This is why the Übermensch must be a transvaluer of all values. He must look at what the world calls good and ask, good for whom? He must look at what the world calls evil and ask, is it truly evil, or is it just dangerous to the herd? This is a lonely and terrifying process. It means standing against centuries of tradition. It means being misunderstood, feared, and labeled as arrogant or cruel. But for the inner rebel, living a lie is a far greater terror. He chooses to walk the path of the master, not the slave. Path not of comfort, but of creation. A path where he is the sole author of his own moral law. So, what does it mean to be the Übermensch, this inner rebel in a world of conformity? It is not about gaining power over others. This is the most common and dangerous misinterpretation of Nietzsche. The true pursuit of the Übermensch is about one thing: power over oneself. Nietzsche's will to power is not the will to dominate other people. It is the will to overcome your own weaknesses, your own fears, your own conditioning. It is the relentless drive to become the master of your own inner world. The path of the Übermensch is built on 3 pillars of self-mastery. The first is self-creation. The conformist, The last man is a product of his environment. His personality is a collection of borrowed opinions. His dreams are a reflection of societal expectations. The Übermensch, however, is an artist, and his greatest masterpiece is himself. He treats his life as a block of marble and ruthlessly chisels away everything that is not authentically him. The fears instilled by his parents, the values taught by society, the limitations he once placed on himself. He is not finding himself. He's actively creating himself, moment by moment, choice by choice. The second pillar is amor fati, the love of one's fate. The average person resents their suffering. They complain, they blame. They wish their life were different. They live in a state of constant war with reality. The Übermensch takes a more radical approach. He doesn't just tolerate his fate, he loves it. He looks at every challenge, every heartbreak, every failure, and says yes. He understands that suffering is not an obstacle to his life. It is the very material from which he forges his strength. He would not remove even the darkest moments from his past, because they were necessary to make him who he is. Amor fati is the ultimate psychological victory. To want nothing to be different, not forward, not backward, not in all eternity. The third and final pillar is the eternal recurrence. This is Nietzsche's ultimate thought experiment, his test for the soul. Imagine that a demon were to creep after you into your loneliest loneliness and say to you, "This life as you now live it and have lived it, you will have to live once more and innumerable times more. And there will be nothing new in it, but every pain and every joy and every thought and sigh must return to you." Would you throw yourself down and gnash your teeth and curse the demon? Or would you say, "You are a god, and never have I heard anything more divine"? The last man would be crushed by this thought, horrified by the prospect of reliving his meaningless, repetitive life. But the Übermensch would rejoice. The thought of reliving his life with all its struggles and triumphs would be the ultimate affirmation that he has lived fully, that he has created a life so powerful and authentic that he would gladly experience it again and again, forever. This is the goal of the inner rebel. Not to be famous, not to be rich, not to be liked, but to live a life so true to oneself, so full of self-created meaning, that the thought of repeating it for eternity would be a joy, not a punishment. It is the hardest path a human can walk. It is a path of solitude, of misunderstanding, of constant self-overcoming. But it is the only path that leads to true freedom. The path of the inner rebel is not a path of comfort. It is a declaration of war against the parts of yourself that have been trained to be small, to be safe, to conform. To walk this path is to choose solitude over shallow company, truth over comforting lies, and growth over stagnation. It requires a level of courage that most people will never summon. The first step is to embrace solitude. Society teaches us to fear being alone, to see it as a sign of failure or loneliness. But for the developing Übermensch, solitude is a sanctuary. It is the forge where the self is strengthened. It is in the silence, away from the noise of the herd, that you can finally hear your own thoughts, confront your own demons, and begin the work of building your own values. You must learn to be your own best company. Next, you must learn to find joy in the struggle. Most people seek to eliminate difficulty from their lives. The inner rebel understands that difficulty is the point. Nietzsche believed that what does not kill me makes me stronger. This isn't just a catchy phrase. It's a blueprint for psychological resilience. You must actively seek challenges that push you to your limits, intellectually, physically, and spiritually. You learn to see obstacles not as barriers, but as opportunities to exercise your will to power, your drive for self-overcoming. Every moment of pain, when faced consciously, becomes a rung on the ladder of your ascent. You must also become a master of your own emotions, especially the dark ones. Slave morality teaches you to feel guilty for your anger, your pride, your envy. The Übermensch does not deny these emotions. He understands them and harnesses their power. Anger can be fuel for change. Pride can be the engine of excellence. Even envy can reveal what you truly desire. The goal is not to be emotionless, but to stop being a slave to your emotions. You are the one in control, the one who decides how to channel that raw energy, turning psychological poison into medicine. Finally, and most importantly, you must live with a sense of purpose that you yourself have created. You stop asking, "What is the meaning of life?" and start declaring, "This is the meaning I will give to my life." Your purpose might be to create art, to build a business, to raise a family with intention, or simply to become the most authentic version of yourself possible. The specific purpose doesn't matter as much as the fact that it is yours. It is this self-created purpose that gives you a why, allowing you to endure anyhow. It becomes your North Star in a meaningless universe. Your reason to rise after every fall. This is a lonely path. The herd will not understand you. They will call you selfish for prioritizing your growth. They will call you arrogant for not following their rules. They will call you cold for not needing their validation. You must be willing to be misunderstood. You must find your validation from within, from the knowledge that you are living a life of truth and courage. The inner rebel walks alone, not because he is unloved, but because he loves his own soul too much to betray it for the comfort of the crowd.